everybody, Dan Illman, David Aragona. The DRF race of the day for Saturday, September the 23rd, race number 13 at Parx. It's the signature race day of the entire meeting at Parx and all through Pennsylvania because it's the Grade 1 $1 million Pennsylvania Derby. 3-year-olds going a mile and an eighth. Let's take a peek at this field. Please click the link for free formulator past performances on mobile. The 3 Saudi Crowns are 7-2, second choice in this race. Going to battle for favoritism with the 11 Reincarnate. Both of these horses sort of have similar running styles, David.
Yeah, this is an interesting race. We don't really have the horses that won the top races in this division this year, but a lot of potential in this race. Horses looking to make an impact stepping forward in the second half of the season. I will say I'll be very surprised if Saudi Crown is not the favorite in this race and a substantial favorite. I would kind of be shocked if he's anywhere above 2-1 in here. He just is coming in with a significant speed figure edge.
I tend to agree. He does have that huge buyer speed figure edge, and he outdraws Reincarnate, breaking to the inside. We'll throw up the Timeform US pace projector. Saudi Crown expected to make the lead. You'll note the red bar. Timeform US believes this pace will be fast. I don't blame them. Saudi Crown has speed, but Bob Baffert doesn't ship to rate. I have a feeling Reincarnate's going to be hustled out of there.
Oh, I would agree with that. I think some of the horses towards the outside, like him and Il Miracolo, are going to go towards the front. But Saudi Crown possesses a lot of natural speed. And I think drawing the inside is going to force the hand a little bit, that he will be in front, but could be taking some early pressure.
Please note that deep closer number 9, Krupi, has the LP designation. That indicates that Krupi has the fastest Timeform US late pace rating. We're going to kick things off with a horse that's going to be a giant price, and deservedly so. The number 1 Modern Era is still a maiden after 8 lifetime starts. A lot of things are going to happen. Maybe an Il Miracolo for him to win this one.
Yeah, he's a little tough to make a case for in this race. Will appreciate any pace that develops, but I think he'll need even more help than that.
Todd Pletcher has a couple of sort of under-the-radar horses in this year's edition of the Pennsylvania Derby. The 2 Dreamlike showed hints of potential early in his 3-year-old campaign. Todd ran him as a maiden in the Wood Memorial. He only got beat ahead that day. They gave him a break. He came back with a score at Saratoga, and didn't he just have an excuse last time out by missing the break? My one concern is blinkers off. Kind of weird.
It is a little odd that they're taking the blinkers off in this race. It seemed like they maybe were looking to add some focus to him early in his career because he was hanging a bit in those first couple of races where he showed talent but wasn't getting the job done. Last time out, he did stumble at the start slightly. I thought got a good trip after that, just really had nothing to offer. It was a race that was dominated towards the front end, but I wanted to see a lot more out of him that day, and he broke his maiden 2 back against some suspect competition. I'm just not sure that this horse has really stepped up against quality competition. He's doing so on Saturday.
Well, maybe a wet track is what he wants. And as we tape this on Wednesday, there is some precipitation in the forecast for Saturday at Parx. That could help Saudi Crown as well, who ran so well over a sloppy track in the Jim Dandy. This is a race where in only his 4th lifetime start, he showed girly speed, and he almost holds off Forte, one of the best 3-year-olds in the country, at the wire. This horse skipped the Travers. He's coming into this race fresh, and you just have the feeling that Brad Cox has been pointing to this one all along.
Yeah, this is a legitimate performance in the Jim Dandy. Obviously, Forte did come back to disappoint in the Travers next time, but there was quality elsewhere in this race. Obviously, Disarm came back to run a good second in the Travers out of the Jim Dandy. The Saudi Crown is the kind of horse that I'm not sure he's a true mile and an eighth type. He's got so much natural speed. I wonder if his ideal distance is a bit shorter than this. And he got the perfect setup to get a mile and an eighth in the Jim Dandy last time. There was no other speed in that race. He got to set his own pace on the front end. I'm not sure that's going to be the case in this Pennsylvania Derby. He's likely to take more pressure. And I think he might have to show some stamina that maybe we haven't seen from him just yet.
Conversely, the 4 Magic Tap acts like a mile and an eighth is no problem whatsoever, and he just looks like one of these late developing 3-year-olds that could be coming into his own at the right time for Steve Asmussen. Let's watch his most recent start. This is a game victory. Dreamlike was the beaten favorite in this race. He finishes 5th. Magic Tap is on the outside here, and he's going to beat a useful older horse in Film Star.
Yeah, this horse is really gritty. You saw 2 back at Ellis Park when he got passed in mid-stretch and was really re-rallying along the inside to try to get to the winner at the end. And you could see it here. He was put away by Film Star at the top of the stretch, but just keeps plugging away and eventually picks that rival up as they come onto the finish line. Film Star has come back out of that to win his next 2 races with respectable speed figures, validating the number that Magic Tap got last time. And like you said, distance, stamina, it's no problem for him. And he feels like a horse that will be okay having a target ahead of him because I don't think he's going to make the front here.
Bill Mott made a sort of a last-minute decision to run the 5 Scotland in this race. This is a horse that looked good, winning 3 of his first 4 starts, including the Curlin 2 starts back at 1 1/8, doing so from on the lead. He has shown the versatility to rake. That could help him in this edition of the Pennsylvania Derby with other speeds entered. Now, the Travers, I just wonder if that was a case of too much too soon from a distance standpoint, from a class standpoint.
Yeah, I think the Travers was just the wrong race for this horse. I get why they took a shot, but 1.25 miles, probably pushing his stamina to the limit a little bit. And I don't know if he's a true front running type. I think he just fell into the lead in 2 sort of paceless races the last couple of times. Obviously, that was the case in the Curl, and then they just went to the lead from the outside post when it seemed like the Bob Baffert runner in there didn't want the lead, National Treasure. So I'm not sure that he's really a true front runner. I would not be surprised if they took him off the pace this time to sort of revert to those tactics, racing from mid-pack. He's a nice horse, and I think he still has potential to move forward, but he's got to show up against this field.
One of the local hopes in this race is the number 6 Daydreaming Boy, a winner 2 starts back. He won by open lengths that day. Ran in the local prep for the Pennsylvania Derby. The Smarty Jones last time out, he finished 3rd. He was down inside. Maybe being down inside wasn't the place to be.
Yeah, he ran fine last time, was no match for the winner of that race, but it does seem like he's improved a little bit since stretching out in distance around 2 turns. His last 3 races are 3 of his best, going the 2-turn distances at Parx. He just feels like he's maybe a cut below some of the top 3-year-olds in this race.
We'll take a look at the 7 West Coast Cowboy, is also cross-entered on Sunday in the Oklahoma Derby. He's going to make an early move to the lead in a race that was won by a dead closer, and that is the very talented Red Route 1. West Coast Cowboy did some good things in this race. I've always been a little bit concerned about distance for this horse, but he did grind on well to finish 2nd, and maybe he came into this race a bit dirtied up because on Iowa Derby night at Prairie Meadows, to me, that was just an intensely speed-favoring track, and he tried to rally into it.
Yeah, I understand maybe wanting to upgrade this horse a little bit, just given the race flow last time with Red Route 1 coming from so far back to win that race. And the horse who we finished in a photo with for 2nd, One in Vermilion, did come back to be the winner of the H. Allen Jerkins, the Grade 1 event at Saratoga. So the form lines from that race are solid. Just feel like this horse has to get a little faster from a speed figure standpoint.
I think Gilmore's a little bit underrated for Brendan Walsh, who's having a sensational 2023. My one concern is maybe he's a bit of a late-running sprinter miler than a true 1.125 type. But let's watch Gilmore's last start going a mile out of the chute at Saratoga. This was an off-turf race, and he stayed a lot closer to the pace than usual. He's able to grind it out and win. And what was notable to me was they ran a really quick second quarter fraction. He was able to stay close to that, wasn't outpaced, and still kept going.
Yeah, I felt this was a very speed favoring day at Saratoga, so I think it helped to be forward, and maybe that's why the runner-up in this race, who seemed a little inferior on paper, was able to battle back so resolutely to the wire, but Gilmore ultimately does get the job done there. I have some doubts about his big speed figure in the Woody Stevens 3-back. That just feels like a number that a lot of horses haven't really run back to. And that's sort of the only race on his card that gives him a serious chance to win this race, even though he ran fine in the Pate Mile. But I tend to agree with the first thing that you said, that I wonder if added distance really helps him at all. It might not.
The number 9 Krupe began his career with a little bit of hype behind him, and you just got the feeling that he's one of those late developing, big, strong sons of Curlin that just needed to grow into his body, both physically and mentally. He's won his last 2 races. This first level race at Saratoga, however, was off the turf, only 3 horses on a wet track, but he did take at least a step forward, and he's the kind of horse that maybe if the pace falls apart, you know he's going to be running late and getting this distance.
Yeah, he's a horse that feels like he's finally starting to figure things out because, like you said, there was raw talent there, but he just was so unprofessional, slow out of the gate in his first few races, really his first several races. But this last 2, it feels like he's gained a little bit of focus, though it's probably a little easier to focus in a 3-horse field where you just have 2 rivals and you're stalking one of them, as opposed to Grade 1 with 10 other horses, and you're probably going to be out the back door early. So I think Krupe is going to have a tougher trip than he did last time, and he also just has to get a little faster to be competitive against this field.
The connections of the 10 Il Miracolo have lived by the saying, if at first you don't succeed, try again, because this was a horse that just got beaten up in graded stakes races earlier in the year. He took a slight step forward in the Curlin, went second behind Scotland. Then they found a great spot in the Smarty Jones last time out. And this is perhaps a new Il Miracolo who was outside early, makes the lead, and boy, he's green in the stretch. He's just running all over the place, and they still can't get him. He did get a respectable Buyer's speed figure, but he can't run like this and beat this field, can he?
No, he needs to run pretty straight this day if he's going to beat a quality field like this. He has a horse that I think was a little underrated coming into the beginning of the summer. I mean, he was an overlay in that curl, and when he had legitimate trips in both the Belmont Stakes as well as the Florida Derby, a trip that a lot of people didn't talk about coming out of that race is one that he had. However, like you said, he beat a weaker field last time, was so unprofessional doing so. You don't want to see that kind of drifting through the stretch from a horse making the 13th start of his career. It's not like this is new to him. So it's a little concerning, especially considering that he probably has to take another step forward to beat this field.
The 11 Reincarnate showed a ton of ability earlier this year in Southern California in the Sham. I thought he ran okay in both of his starts at Oaklawn. After the Derby, I love that they gave him plenty of time to recover, and I love the spot that they found for him as a prep for the Pennsylvania Derby. This is the Los Alamitos Derby. It's going 1 1/8 off about a 2-month layoff. He controlled things from the start, but he's so strong in the stretch. I love the way he kicks away from 2 minor next out winners.
Yeah, this was a nice return from the layoff, and the runner-up in this race, Skinner, does come back to finish 5th in the Pacific Classic, but does so with an improved Buyer speed figure in his next race. So I think that validates the form of this Los Alamitos Derby. And like you said, he had showed talent early in the year, running that game victory in the Sham, earning the career best Buyer so far. Obviously, went a little off form over the summer. The thing to like about this horse, I believe, is the way he's working coming into this race. If you watch some of the workouts, really dating all the way back to the beginning of August, it just looks like he has become a different horse since that last race, because I watched his workouts back in the springtime and he was not the best workhorse, often getting beaten in the morning by stablemates. Seems like he's really taken a step forward and focused in the past couple months. And Bob Baffert, this is a race that he targets. He's won 4 of the last 8 Pennsylvania Derbies, 3 of the last 5 since it became a grade 1. So I have a feeling he's sending over a live runner.
Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for the Pennsylvania Derby. You're going with Reincarnate. He's going to break running. He's going to get close to the pace. And the way he ran last time out, the ability he showed earlier this year, and the workouts that you mentioned at a second price of 3 or 7 to 3 to 1, 7 to 2, that seems very fair.
Yeah, I admit that I don't love this horse based on form. I just get the sense that he's going to run a big race on Saturday, just based on Bob Baffert's pattern and the workouts that I've seen from him. And furthermore, drawing the outside post, I think it's going to be good for a horse like this because he's a little bit of a grinder. Sometimes he's a little slow out of the gate. And I think having that clear run to the outside will be good. And I don't think he's going to be the favorite. I think he'll drift a little bit.
I want to give Scotland a chance at a slight price coming from off the pace. I think that's going to be the plan here for Mott and Junior Alvarado. He's shown some ability in his career, and maybe, just maybe, he's going to get the right setup with some speeds in here. 11-4-5-3 for David, 5-3-10-4 for me. Should be a fun edition of the Pennsylvania Derby on Saturday. Best of luck.